Hey guys, it's Matt. Rob and I are sorry that a Free Voice video did not go out this weekend. I think we've made every Saturday or Sunday for 2 years in a row, including Christmas Day. So every once or twice a year we might miss, but it will be rare. And he has much more going on in terms of circumstances, kids, family, than I do. The topic for today is, at least in my opinion, change is the God of this world. Now, that is not blasphemy from a Christian perspective. There are a lot of Christians here. I don't see how it can be blasphemy for Matt to say change in my perspective or the way I see the world as the God of this world when 2 Corinthians 4-4 says Satan is the God of this world. If the Bible says Satan is the God of this world, certainly it's not as offensive to say change is the God of this world. And there are many other places in the Bible that don't flat out say that Satan is God of this world, but talk about Satan as the ruler, or using language to that sense, the ruler of the world. In John, Ephesians, Peter, Revelation, Luke, Hebrews, James. So it's very clear that, still speaking to Christians before we jump into it, that the Bible itself says your God is not the God of this world. Clearly says in the Bible. Don't get mad at me. Change isn't as bad. To me, actually, change maybe is Satan. We'll get into that. The picture here is just a placeholder image from the video I did 6 months or 8 months back on the useless and ridiculous League of Nations that was formed, I guess, after World War I, that accomplished nothing, but actually probably perpetuated more war. But perpetrated as a perp, that's the right word too. That's a Freudian slip. But they just perpetuated more war. They're going to come together to end all wars. They created the circumstances by putting a bunch of assholes in the same room that led to more tension and war. So they're perps and perpetuants at the same time. I think I just made that up. Perpetuants and agents of perpetuation. Sorry. Let me continue. There's no particular reason for this image other than it does relate to change being the God of this world. And I believe if you back up far enough and look down on reality and say, what is reality for? This is a completely different perspective of saying, what's the meaning of life? Which is very personal, starts at, say, heart center and looks outward. What is the meaning of life? Starts with you, the individual, and looks outward. Maybe both of these elements need to come together. We've all talked about people their whole lives should consider what is the meaning of life, but do you need this second part or second half where, from the perspective of your imagination, if you back up as far as possible from the earth or this reality system or this realm or this snow globe or whatever it is that Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking can't comprehend it is, then you look back and say, what is the purpose of that place? Isn't that a necessary component in what is the meaning of life? Forget your own personal interpretation of that first part for now. Back up as far as you can with your imagination and look back. Matt, I'm doing it right now. It looks like a ridiculous snow globe somebody would get for throwing darts in a carnival. It is probably somewhat ridiculous if you back up far enough. But backing up and look, what is the purpose collectively of that place that you went in? And to me, there's nothing that will go in terms of on the org chart higher than change. The purpose of that place, from my perspective, is to experience change. That implies, Matt, that what we were before birth or spiritually, it's hard to experience change. I don't know, okay, but it's just look. I'm going to say this definitively. How could I possibly know? But it's does your inner knowing kind of tingle, resonate? There's no place anywhere in the known universe, multi-universe, where change comes as quickly and as violently and as swiftly as in this place. This place is all about change, and change is a wrecking ball emotionally. Time is an agent of change. Somebody screaming out, throwing their rubber duckies. Matt, the God of this world is time. No. Time is an agent of change. If the purpose of a created realm is so a real spiritual being can experience change, at least in a way it has never experienced before, and change that can be very nasty, and completely different than maybe what we can experience outside of here, then thousands of agents of chaos, and I'm not just talking about the creeps, that would be one subset. A weather system is an agent of chaos. Thousands of agents of chaos are needed to facilitate the tremendous and violent change of circumstance around you, physical environment, personal circumstance, emotions from day to day or hour to hour. You need all of these different elements of chaos. If you are designing now this is where, fine, your God, my God, whoever you believe in, whatever your religion is, whatever your higher self is, whatever, this is where we all agree to us, designed this place. Somebody did, obviously. The creeps are role players here. The best way to understand what I'm saying here is imagine you or an aspect of you were at the table to design this place. Just go with it. It's not blasphemy. You'll be able to, I think we'll be able to understand this place better. If you took part in the design of the Earth snow globe, would you raise your hand at the end of the table and say, let's make it exactly what we have here? What? You jackass, down the end of the table. The point potentially would be to make it different than what we have here, so we can experience things we can never experience here. I know it sounds like Alan Watts, what I'm saying now, but Alan Watts said a lot of smart things. I don't agree with Alan Watts on certain things, but I'm not going to throw everything he ever said just off the bridge like the damn jockey, the oversized jockey in Seabiscuit who threw his dad's books off the bridge or whatever he threw off the bridge. Or what did Leonardo DiCaprio in Gangs of New York, I think, threw the damn Bible off a bridge. I'm not going to do that to Alan Watts. He had some smart things, and one of the things I would agree with him most on is whoever designed this realm, you would design it to give you an experience of what you can't have outside of here. And likely it would be about chaos and change and some harsh situations and some rather violent, nasty emotions and all that stuff that can be painted as the hell of this world. Potentially, as we go through the hell, if your viewpoint is you're an agent of higher self, your higher self could be lapping it up like a heroin drug, the negative emotions you're going through times a billion. What are you saying? Your tremendous sorrow of losing a spouse or a loved one or a family member or a pet to death, and that tremendous loss and mourning and all the horrific things that you or I or somebody here on earth may be going through, there's another aspect of that person, like higher self, that could be loving it. I don't know how to put it. Or needing it. Yes, that's possible. Or we'll talk about, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I don't think it's necessarily a fact or a given that if I'm down here crying my eyes out the day Bootsy got put down, for example, or whatever your loss may be, I don't think it's a given that the spiritual aspect of you is just crying too, and I'm with you. No, it might be Mick loving it and saying that's why I sent an aspect of myself in there to get this sort of experience. It could be Mick loving it like a heroin addict. Who knows? After analyzing the Apple TV show Severance that we've talked about a few times, which absolutely, from a truth perspective, could be making, it has the innie and outie, the person out of work, the person in work. The entity in work doesn't know the entity out of work, although it's the same person. I'm not going to do a recap on Severance if you don't know what I'm talking about. 30 seconds or less. Person goes into work, they forget the outside world. Person leaves work, they forget the inside world. But it becomes two completely separate entities. And doing the analysis of Severance, I'm like, wait a second. Is this a higher self presentation to what we are here in the snow globe? And the way it's presented as severance, the higher self is nasty. It's not necessarily this loving thing. At least that's what's presented in severance. Well, it's one of my interpretations of it. Doesn't announce itself that this office presentation, in terms of this weird show presented by the even weirder Ben Stiller, is saying this is actually meant to represent you here and your higher self. They don't go there. And most people would think I'm completely insane for even mentioning it. But I go there. We go there as big thinkers from time to time. So I'm not saying that severance has completely corrupted permanently my understanding of higher self. I'm just keeping that on the table. Well, Matt, maybe that's what the show was designed to do. It doesn't. That's fine. We're big enough to see through the tricks. If that's what the show is designed to do, fine. Ben Stiller isn't going to be able to corrupt what my position should be in terms of relationship between me here and the potentially part of me that's not here. So I said, I like what Severance introduced because I'm big enough and you're big enough to kick around all possibilities. We don't have to do earmuffs. Oh, we might be corrupted. We can't go that way. No, as I've said many times, if Satan was given a damn lecture at the park, I'd go listen to it, of course. And I would be confident enough in my own discernment to be able to see through the lies and bullshit and potentially pull some intentions out of it or truth. Getting back to the main point before getting too far into the weeds or down the rabbit hole, the main point, remember, was if you were designing and you were at the table designing the Earth system, you would probably make it very different than what you have experienced or what you could experience. And if that's the case, there would be a brainstorming at the table. Matt, would it be a smoking room with Peter Stuyvesant? It could, maybe. Who knows what happens outside of this plane of existence? Maybe they have the Peters there too. But you say, well, let's do a brainstorm, everybody here at the table. What are the elements of change that will make this place completely an agent of chaos, just an experience of absolute entropy? Isn't that the second law of thermodynamics? Entropy. The second law of thermodynamics, forget Newtonian physics and that horse shit. It's probably meant to tell you about the nature of this place, how it was designed, so you could learn something about yourself. That's the way you interpret the second law of thermodynamics, that everything moves towards entropy? Yes. If you back up, why is a reality system created where everything moves towards entropy? That's change. Okay, that is the second law of thermodynamics. It's really no different than what I'm saying here if you make a different interpretation of it. Even the way Einstein presents the theory of relativity, I think there's always another spin on how you can take their bullshit physics presentations that do apply to the physics. But is that really important to understand in your life? How if you drop a glass, it'll break? Is that really important, understanding why you're here, what the reality system is designed to do? The two halves of number one, what is the meaning of life? And the back half, looking back at the Earth reality system and saying, what is that place designed to do? Obviously, we're going to have a lot of different interpretations here. Somebody of a certain religion may say this place is designed as a judgment for souls. That's what the place was designed to do, according to some people. A judgment, so God can determine what to do with this person or what to do with that. We're all going to have different takes, but it's so essential to combine the elements that, okay, what is the meaning of life to me? But then, again, one last time, go up in a hot air balloon, go 100,000 miles, go 100 million miles, and look back at it. Said, whoever designed it, what is it designed for? In my opinion, it's designed so timeless spiritual entities can learn things and experience things and have certain things happen that would be impossible outside of a place that's not designed as such a hardcore pipe-hitting element of change. And to get all of that, you need the creeps. You need weather systems. You need the time. You need the millions and millions of potential elements of change. Whatever they call gravity is an element of change. Knock your elbow back into your glass and see if that's not an element of change. The whole place is designed to facilitate change. This goes without saying, but I guess I'll say it. Of course, when I say the God of this world is change, I don't mean it's like some entity sitting on a throne. Call me change. Do you have change? Change for what? $1? What? I don't mean it's like that. It's just a way of putting something. The God of this world. This world is so minute in the grand scheme of things that saying the God of it is that ain't no compliment. Which it's like me saying, I'm Matt. Hi, I'd like to give you a grand compliment. You're the God. You own this home? You're the God of that anthill out back. Don't insult me like that. What's the difference? Who wants to be, it's no good, if from a Christian perspective, the God of this world is your Christian God. That ain't nothing to write home about. The God of the Christian God should be far greater than this little place to facilitate change. I can't speak for Christians, and I'll shut up, but you know what I'm saying. In general, everybody's been brainwashed. Oh, what does 2 Corinthians say? Satan is the god of this world. No, the God of the Old Testament's the god of this world. No, this is fighting over scraps. Okay, to us, this world's pretty impressive. But if you back up far enough, someone says, hey, shit, why are you fighting over to be the god of that place? That place ain't shit. Who, in the grand scheme of things, does your inner knowing tell you this? Earth, whatever it is this just everything? No. I don't know. Look, I'll just give you my opinion. I can't speak for your inner knowing, but my inner knowing says it's a damn train stop. Find out what the meaning of life is for yourself. Find out what the place is designed to do, and then do it. If you think the place is designed to facilitate change, and that's what its original design was, in the smoking room, the spiritual smoking room with the spiritual Peters brought in and the hookah, then it's like, well, wait a second. When tremendous change comes, this is what it's for. Yes, it's hurtful, it's sorrowful. We lose a loved one or a tragedy happens or what. But wait a second. Is it as bad if you believe at the absolute root level that's what this place was designed for? Let us your inner knowing tell you. Of course it was designed for all that. And the creeps have become such a role player in this entropy. Chaos, you're going to have a realm that's designed for change and the way change affects real spiritual beings via the emotions it draws forth. And yeah, there could be, of course, creeps that have found a way to suck the energy, of course, but you need asshole elements of entropy in a place that's designed to have a spiritual being not facilitate change, but experience certain types of changes or certain types of things that they can't outside of this place. The chaos has to be here, of course. So back to the design of it. Again, not trying to be blasphemous. What am I supposed to do here? Take it the best way you can. The design of the earth realm around the table. Matt, if my God is around that table, don't say it's a smoking room. I'm sorry, it's not. There's just fresh fruit brought in. But it's a place designed for entropy, chaos, change. And then somebody says, again, Matt, stop apologizing. We understand what you're trying to do here. Somebody says, well, we got to put these assholes in there to facilitate the degree of change. That's hardcore pipe hitting. And then have those changes in people's lives, even weekly or daily, facilitate these types of hardcore pipe-hitting emotions. We got to put this gigantic asshole element in there. And you understand, if you let all the tigers out of the cage or whatever creepy, I like tigers, so I don't like equating them to Melvin P. and those types of bezo creeps. But you let the tigers out of the cage, it could be dangerous. But we want to accomplish this certain thing, and we need these assholes. I don't know if there's people might be going back and forth. People or aspects of you or aspects of your God might be saying, we need to put these assholes in here. I know they could get out of control. I know we could have Melvin P. running around putting his face on MSNBC and CNN all day and people throwing their lunch up because of that. And they're going to try to suck energy and suck looch and try to hijack the reality system and pull buttons and levers. But we got to put these assholes in here if we want this degree of entropy and chaos, because that's what you guys saying we need, right? There ain't no other way to do it. Send the Melvin P's in. That's the role of the Melvin P's. Does anybody listening to this think they're a greater entity than you are? It's laughable. These creeps are the definition of big fish in a small pond. Melvin P. Bezos. He just laugh when you. I'm not Elon Musk. I don't think I can say more than a few names without just busting out laughing. It's so comical. What are some of the Henry Kissinger? I mean, come on, Clinton, Obama. I mean, come on. Well, Matt, there's people in the shadows. Well, then fine. Call them people. Let's for the sake of this presentation, we'll call them people. Whatever there may be in the shadows, of the old money or whatever. It's still. You think that's a greater spiritual entity than you are? If you're look, it's pretty simple. And I'm not just saying this to make you feel good or make me feel better or whatever, or to to overcompensate for certain deficiencies or as a rationalization. If the thing here or the entity here or whatever it is here as part of this role player role to facilitate the chaos and the change and bring the entropy. If that's its role, no matter how grand its power here, no matter how much money it has, to me it is crystal clear. What is your inner knowing? What does your Jerry Maguire? What does your heart tell you, Jerry? They fired him at Cronin's. It tells you that any being here that's here to facilitate the chaos is way lesser than you are. It's fiddling bends low compared to you, because this act all around you, this grand play, guess what? It's for you. It's for the star of the play is not the person that played the Phantom, whatever. Oh, we're designed to clap. We want to be like them. They clap, but who? They're doing it for you. You're the audience, which means you're the most important entity here. It's a grand play. It's designed so we look at these assholes and say, oh, look at the money and power they have. And they certainly get something out of it if their schemes and their tricks and their ruses are. Can you even do that with the plural? Ruses? Its ruses are successful. It's what? Your ruse, ma'am, your cunning attempt to trick me. You can't rent here anymore. It's all for you. You're the audience. That means you're higher up on the damn spiritual org chart. I'm not just saying that to make myself feel good. Every bit of information feeds that, and your inner knowing backs it up, right? Or I'm just making it up because we're all a bunch of pathetic worms here and we just need to make ourselves feel better. I don't think a chaos facilitator here, whatever that entity is, we'll just choose Don the Lemon. He's one of my favorites. Don the Lemon. He wouldn't have any idea what we're talking about. He wouldn't have any idea of his own role. He certainly wouldn't be. If he came across this video, he would think it's the most insane thing he's ever heard. He wouldn't relate to one bit of it. He can't. What did they say about the doctor said to little Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in Twins? He's like, you little, what is it, Vincent? Vincent, you don't have the brain power to understand what I'm trying to tell Julius here in Twins. Don the Lemon wouldn't even have any clue, because he's so far removed to the types of things we're talking about. Simply a role player, and even his own role he wouldn't be capable of understanding. Backing up a few minutes, I said Phantom earlier very quickly. I meant like the play Phantom of the Opera. And the occult or embedded message in Phantom of the Opera, I'm still trying to figure out. I don't even think there is one interpretation. There's multiple interpretations. The music of the night song fascinates me, trying to get to the interpretation of it eventually. I'll do a freevoice.io presentation because I'll get to the point where I'll go, I can't figure this out any more than I already have, where I will get to that point. I'm not there yet. Maybe my understanding of it is only 60%, so I have a long way to go. But I said Phantom. I meant, so when the audience is watching Phantom of the Opera, and one last thing, if you get a chance to rent is it the 25th anniversary edition from Royal Albert Hall? One of the most amazing things I've ever seen. It's like you're right there in the front row. Anyway, so people in the audience, they'll covet the actors. Wouldn't it be so glamorous and incredible to be playing the Phantom or Michael Crawford, and they're famous singers, and they're written up in Variety magazine. And it's just the absolute wrong way to look at it. The Phantom represents in this, I'm not saying what this is what the music of the night means. I'm trying to figure that out. But in this example, the phantom would be like the play is here for you, the audience, the play all around you in this earth system, of which the creeps are role players in this play. But you can't look up at the phantom or at Sarah Brightman and say, oh, I want to be like them, and oh, the fame and the money. It's the opposite. They're playing for you. You're the highest level spiritual entity here. How many people realize this before going to their death? The poem from Walt Whitman, presented in the movie Dead Poets Society by Robin Williams. Oh me, oh life. Matt, why does it always have to be tied into a movie? Would it be impossible for you to find the Walt Whitman poem on its own on a piece of paper somewhere? Is the only way you can access any information in this world is through a movie? It's possible. Maybe. I've thought about that for many hours, but let's just take the information as it's presented. It's in the movie or on a piece of paper. It's still the same information. We can interpret it the same way. It says that you are here, that life exists, an identity, that the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. That the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. And most people, even people listening to this, like, yo, that's so powerful. No, that's a bunch of horse shit. That's a bunch of horse shit, Walt. Walt, are you listening to me, Walt? That the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. No. There's so life out there is so powerful, and you just so small. You a little sardine swimming in a school, and maybe you can get out of line in that sardine, and you can contribute a little verse, and life will go on. Hey, Walt, horse shit. The powerful play around, it's for me. Not that so I can contribute a verse to it. It's so every verse contributes to me. Walt, you jackass. Goes along with this ridiculous, wretched notion of, I want to be remembered, or if I just have that one painting that will carry me to infamy, and that horrible philosophy of being remembered. It's all what dominated the Achilles character. That you're doing it again, Matt. You're not even talking about the Odyssey and the Iliad. You're talking about the Brad Pitt movie. I am. It's the only way I can understand the Iliad. But Brad Pitt, but it's the same. I do know this, that it's very accurate to what Homer didn't write down because he sang the damn thing somehow. Brad Pitt says, I will participate in this great Agamemnon's war because that's how my name will live through history. That's what an NPC type. Are you calling Achilles an NPC? Yes, I'm calling you Achilles an NPC type. That's what a creep type or a Melvin P type, that they would want their name to live on. Well, what does that tell you? Because they don't spiritually live on themselves. They need figments or egregore type things so to help them live on. What does your inner knowing tell you? Do you need something so you will live on? Do you need to write a book or a poem? No. We'll live on just by doing nothing but putting our feet up and watching the Oprah Winfrey Show every day or whatever's on TV nowadays. We used to watch Sally Jesse Raphael. We don't have to do shit. We will live on. That doesn't mean there's no consequences for just sitting back and wasting a life and doing nothing but Sally Jesse Raphael. But we still, a certain type of being here. Again, Don the Lemon types aren't listening to this. I think there's a lot of different types here, in my opinion. Tony believes that, and other smart people believe that as well. There's consequences to some degree if we don't use this world or this reality system for what it's supposed to be here for. We'll talk about, drop the baggage and all this stuff that for some other video, but we will go on. We don't need to just contribute a verse in the powerful play. Oh, if I just make this painting, that's contributing a verse, and then somehow I can live on. That's a bunch of horse shit to real people, what you wrote, Walt. It's the opposite. Your whole powerful play, everything around us here, it's not selfish. Go ahead, say it. Say it, anybody listening to this. Say it's for me. I'm in the audience. All this, it's for me. Not that I'm going to contribute to your horse shit. Look what Walt called it. Whether he's in the know or it just came out or it flowed through art, he calls life the powerful play. What is a play? An act. It's not real. But everybody in the audience of Phantom of the Opera, or people that are real spiritual beings that got too far into the dragon's wing, or people that completely lost themselves, or Horcrux themselves off, or NPC, or whatever, maybe, they would say, does anybody here want to try to contribute to the play being performed here, Phantom of the Opera? Does anybody have any ideas? And everybody would take out little cards and put all their ideas. Oh, yeah, in Act 5, I'd make her having a red dress instead of a magenta dress. Oh, all these. And one real person would be sitting in the audience and say, no, I'm not here to contribute to your shit. You're here for me. But, sir, don't you have one idea where you can better this play? You can contribute your verse, and then your idea will live on in this Phantom of the Opera. No, I don't have any ideas. Again, start the play up again. Who told you could stop playing? You're here for me. Start it up again, or I'll remove you from the stage. Now, let's take a brief mental break for a second. Pause here. Pause. But you want to get a laugh? Here it comes. Everybody's going to laugh. I want you now to picture Joe Biden. Picture Joe Biden and the role he plays. Well, Matt, when I picture his role, what did Walt Whitman say? The powerful play goes on. It's not so powerful a play. It's a clown show. That's right. It's no longer, Walt wouldn't even understand. It's no, Walt, are you listening to me? It's no longer a powerful play. It's a clown show. So from the perception of a real spiritual being, maybe even in the beginning of their lifetime, you could say it was a powerful play. It was very professionally presented and believable. It devolved somehow into a clown show, which gets back to the video I made about a year ago, where reality itself is a hillbilly truck and tractor pull. The weight slides towards the back of the cab, so eventually the weight that the truck is trying to pull becomes impossible, and the thing just spins mud, throwing it all over the South Carolina audience. It's a truck and tractor pull. So reality slides too from the seemingly professional presentation, from the powerful play and the creeps, and even a lot of suffering, and the wars were scary. It moves for some reason, because it has to, towards a clown show. Like the truck and tractor pull, weight slides towards the back of the cab. And as it moves towards a clown show, to me it gives itself away as the whole thing is a giant, to a degree, wake-up mechanism. Because it's almost like it has a quota to fulfill. It's like, we didn't get enough people to wake up. We have to make it even more silly, more ridiculous. How are we going to do that? Make Joe Biden the president. That's going too far. We need to meet our quota. This reality machine to wake people up isn't working well enough. People are just they're so comfortable, and these creeps have done such a great job facilitating their chaos and their entropy while still having real people believe in what they're putting forth. How could they possibly believe in what's being put forth? I don't know. But these creeps have become very adept and skillful at what they do, so it has to become more and more stupid. And then, look, at this point, we're on the right side, the correct side, not right or left. I don't do that horse shit. The correct side of the river. Okay, whatever. We've swam to the shore. Maybe someday the master of ceremonies over the reality, or your God, or whatever you believe, might say, we're not getting anybody else. We can't, even if we break it down even more and make the news presentation more ridiculous, we're not going to get anybody else to wake up to it. Nope, that's the max. Everybody that's going to wake up to it has already woken up to it. We can't. Then what happens? Right? Can't get anybody else. Oh, then what happens? I don't care. Worry about yourself. We're already standing on the bank by my heel. I don't care. It's so, honestly, I don't like to sometimes have this position towards certain family and friends, but what comes on the news is so ridiculous that, honestly, if people cannot see through this, what happens. I don't care anymore. Call it selfish if you want. We're on our own spiritual journeys here. Worry about yourself. So in summary, don't forget the two sides. Everybody at some point should say, what is the meaning of life to me, looking out from heart center? But back up 1,000 million miles and look down and say, what is the place designed to do for someone like you? And are you doing it, or are you falling for it? So if there is by that notion, if there is all these elements put in to facilitate chaos and entropy, then I mean, at the first grade level, of course, is not to fall for the agents of chaos, or in the Elric series presented by Michael Moorcock, and it's not making a joke, no need to laugh, that's his name. Elric, it's the agents of chaos. And when the agents of chaos get too far out of control in the Michael Moorcock books, don't laugh, then the eternal champions step forth to restore the balance. And no, I used to think in a way, oh, we're the eternal champ. No, we are not out to go fix it. Remember, the powerful play goes on. It's the opposite of Walt. We don't buy your horse shit anymore, Walt. I don't want to speak for you. The powerful play is for us. I'm not here to contribute to it. No, I'm not here to go fix it. I'm not here to make sure Anthony Weiner does his time, or that Hillary Clinton is marched off and she's sentenced. I'm not here to go fix it. I don't care about contributing my verse. It's here for me. All the bullshit, all the clown show, it's here. The creeps and the Melvin P. presentations, as bad as it is, as horrible as the emotions are sometimes, as hard as it is to get out of bed in the morning, as depressed as it's all here for you. And to close, I'll say the same thing I've said many times, but this time a little less graphic. And people still fight me on this. It's just, look, hey, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but it's very clear to me. Oh, spiritual being, go into that reality system. Oh, what's in there? You just lie around under a fruit tree, the fruit drops down into your mouth, and there's a gigantic bottle of lube and a hand that comes up from the sand. And, well, what else is there? That's not a learning experience, but it's nice. But I don't want to go in there. How long do I have to spend in there? What am I going to learn if a hand keeps coming out of the sand every 12 hours? How quickly do you think I can recover? That don't going to learn shit in a place like that. Hey, it'd be great for a week or two. Can I have a day or two to think about it? Can I ask questions like, what kind of a hand will come up out of the sand? What gender will the hand be? Could it be a gorilla hand? Will it be soft, lotioned, or calloused? It makes a big difference whether I'm going to go into this reality system. Point simple, guys. It has to be difficult, okay? It has to be difficult, and for it has to be difficult. You wouldn't learn anything. You wouldn't get anything out of it, whatever. Matt, I hate people that say it's a school or learning. That's just blasphemy to say it's a school. Oh, but if you can, whatever you believe it to be, you can still learn something, right? Does that you just jump right to the fact that, oh, Matt believes it's a school. You can still learn something, right? Is that completely off the table? So it needs to be difficult, of course. And for something to be difficult, you've got to put a bunch of Marcellus Wallace type assholes and creeps and chaos factors and things that lead to horrible tragedy and sorrow. It has to be tough, or you wouldn't get anything out of it. I'm not saying this to make myself feel better. There is no other explanation for why this whole reality was designed the way it is. And it's not just that we just grasping and it gives itself away, but Matt, all he has to do is go by inner knowing. No, through its actions. We understand everything through its actions. Through its actions, it has given itself away. We've documented and talked about 1,000 things at this point that all lead to a similar conclusion. But people will still fight me on this. No, Matt, it was supposed to be just this beautiful experience where you just lay around under the fruit trees, and then these creeps came in, and they weren't supposed to be here, and they hijacked it. Oh, they hijacked it. Oh, sure. And think of the power of the entity that put everything together. Whether it's your God or someone else, they're going to let Melvin P. types come in and hijack it. Oh, they're going to be sure. No, it's like 1 billion times or 1 trillion times more likely that the Melvin P. types were put in here by the God type that designed the whole thing so you could have a certain type of experience and learn something. To close, I didn't use this still shot image from a League of Nations speech for no reason. It's mostly a filler image. If you're driving, you don't need to see it. It's just an old black and white from the 1920s, a guy standing at a podium. League of Nations was formed after World War I because we can't have a war like that again, and all the nations came together for peace. But then just a few years later, they had even a worse one. But, it's just a guy standing at a podium, and related or based on everything that's been said here, what is that person at the podium At the top it says history does not stand still. Change. That's what we're, the God of this world, change. The reason for the potential creation of this earth realm. So real spiritual beings can participate a level of change and entropy that probably isn't able to be experienced anywhere else. Again, it's so hardcore here. And one more example I hope I remember to give you at the end of this. So the person standing at the podium here, what are they? They're a facilitator of what the reality is out to do. They're a facilitator of chaos. Even though these creeps came together, and even if you put them on a lie detector test, they would they would believe that they're actually there to facilitate peace. But we know whenever these groups get together, and again, the reality accomplishes its goals through things like this, or through people like this, or through NPCs like this. Could be a real spiritual being at the podium here that just lost its way. But we can clearly see somebody giving a speech about, I think if I remember correctly, the old video was about Italian troops, some incursion into Ethiopia. It's like, what are you even doing there in Ethiopia? And half the nations are taking the side of Italy and half the nations are taking the side of Ethiopia. If on a lie detector test, they would believe they're helping, but they know not what they do. They're on the download. They're on the frequency. They're facilitating the chaos and entropy that this reality is designed to facilitate. This person at the podium, of course, or anybody at the United Nations, and Matt, they're all in on it. No, they're not. They're on the frequency and download, and they've simply taken the bait. The NPCs, I think, are more easily put on the frequency than what we would call real spiritual beings, but we'll talk about that some other time. We don't know how many are in each classification. Either way, they all get tuned to the frequency. Then they facilitate. They become agents of chaos. They become facilitators of the type of hardcore pipe-hidden change that this place puts forth. So it's not that complicated. Things we've been talking about for years. To take your cue cards and throw them out. Step away from the script. Walk away from what it wants. Get off the radio station. Get off the frequency. The person pictured here has lived their entire life doing nothing other than facilitating what Not Nilk wants. And this person's not unique. Almost everybody around us facilitates what Not Nilk wants. And last thing I want to share with you, closing, I've been thinking about this a long time, but no more in the last week or so. I didn't mention a few days back, guys, I didn't mention in a few videos, Puss had to be put down. I don't want this channel to be about dead cats. I appreciate all the wonderful comments about Bootsy. 1 month later, Puss had to be put down. She went in. She had bleeding from the mouth for weeks. They'd scheduled her for teeth extraction. Thought initially they couldn't see into her mouth, but maybe 3, 4, 5 teeth had to come out, which is a surgery for cats. And well, they're gone between Christmas and New Year, so every day bleeding from the mouth. I just thought, like they said, it was probably a tooth. Well, she went in, and under the tongue was a tumor. That was the cause of the whole mouth problem. Can't remove a tumor under the tongue. The cat was almost 16 years old. So Bootsy and Puss, a month apart. And this started happening to Puss days after Puss or Bootsy was put down. Almost like they wanted to be together, but we'll talk about that stuff some other time. It was just unbelievable. So I just started thinking about, all that I was going through a month ago with, pee bags all over the house and all this stuff. And then the change was facilitated so quickly because of these two. Like 90% of the work is gone. The whole feel of the house. I don't have a whole lot of people around me. People have experienced this with the loss of loved ones or spouses and all. But I just started thinking so much about change and how this whole reality, this is what this reality is here to do. And maybe Matt doesn't engage with people. He had no loved ones he was close to or friends. So then the reality brought me cats. And I feel the loss through that because maybe I wouldn't have ever experienced it with people because I'm at arm's distance from people. And I just started thinking about this is exactly what the reality is here to do. And we'll talk more about the sorrow and the emotions almost got a sense. I know this is strange, and I don't want to get into it here, but I almost got the sense as the lowest I possibly was that there's a part of me spiritually that was like not like loving or enjoyed the horrific emotions or the crying or whatever, like it needed it, or I was here to experience the good and the bad for it. But the bad to it wasn't the bad. I'm not saying my higher self is some evil character. I don't know how to talk about it right now. Talk about it later. There was almost like in the lowest parts of the worst day it happened, or the next day, there was almost like a it was almost like there was almost like a high associated with the low. Look, it's not coming out right. There's a whole lot to talk about as the weeks roll on. I didn't want to say anything, or at the beginning of this video or before, about Puss because of all the incredible things. Everybody sent me a bunch of stuff about Bootsy. At this point, I'm just so numb. I don't even. Please, I appreciate your well wishes, but there's a reason I didn't mention this until now. Thanks for listening, guys.